What made you quit your job when they needed you most? Didn't get a bonus because they felt the overtime I did paid me more than the bonus they gave to everyone else. I didn't know what to say to that, so after a few hours I offered to get coffee for everyone. Then I left and never came back or contacted them again. I keep thinking that I should go back with coffee now I've been gone 10 years and just act normal. Shoppers freaking drugmate. I had simply asked for better hours after working ridiculous late night hours for over a year. Instead they hired a new guy and gave him the exact hours I asked for and then had me train him. So when training wasn't going very well because new guy was super slow, they blamed me for it. Now I had a good standing with everyone at this store, but I didn't need shoppers and I let a lot of shit slide every day. So again when I asked for a vacation that I deserved because I was never sick and punctual as all hell, I was denied it, and the next day the manager had 4 weeks of vacation set. So to make it up to me, they offered me all these insane overtime shifts for the next 3 weeks. So I waited for the frozen deliveries to arrive that same day. The boss was packing up to go home, and when he said goodnight to me I said, "But who is going to do this frozen delivery?" He laughed and said, "You are." So I replied, "Nope." And he became super cross. So I started laughing. "What are you laughing about?" he says. So I said, "Freak yourself." I quit. Now there was no one to finish the night shift. He immediately asks for the uniform, lol. Now I said, "Freak yourself." I quit. I had never done that before or since. Uniform went in the trash. I worked as a small engine repair tech for a larger company. I'm also in the National Guard. I had gotten hurt and needed physical therapy, and 1 or 2 days a month I would have to miss because of an extended drill weekend. Well, my boss didn't like that, and she decided that she would punish me by making me stay later than everyone else. She was punishing me for going to physical therapy for a workplace injury and for being a soldier. Now, you may be thinking, having to stay late to keep up on your work doesn't sound like that much of a punishment. Normally, you would be right, but trust me, she was doing a lot more to make sure it was a punishment. Well, one day after being told that I was not given approval for the 1 day of vacation I asked for 3 months in advance to go see the eclipse, and generally being treated like a slave, I was like, why am I doing this to myself? And clocked out at the end of my shift. That next Monday after drill weekend, I showed up, packed up all my tools and took off. My boss started freaking out when she saw what I was doing. I left and found out that me leaving cost her over $100k because she had to ship my workload to another state to get another shop to work on them. That meant she needed to pay to ship them and then pay to ship them back. And since her shop didn't do any of the actual work, she never saw any money for any of the repairs. It was over 80 riding mowers. 18 years old. Assistant manager at a big pizza franchise. Had been working open to close for 2 weeks straight because the new GM went on vacation right after taking over the store. When she got back from her vacation she worked a half day. I opened and still closed. Then she changed the schedule and took 2 days off. This was the last straw on top of a ton of other shit piled over a year. Multiple new GMs, crappy district manager, awful store politics. I was alone during an unusually large lunch rush and was just done with everyone's crap. I had a Mac line full of orders, phones ringing, oven full of pizza, orders to be picked up, and a massive batch of dough sitting on the prep table. I said freak it. I shut the oven off, walked out, and locked the store. Didn't call anyone to let them know. It would be hours before the evening driver would roll in. No prep for the day, no dough for the day except for Dablob I'm sure would become a massive mess after rising for hours. A double-deck oven with both belts full of pies wasted and what was probably shaping to be a $1,200 lunch out the window. I hope she was well rested after her time off. Worked as the engineer at the mill, was responsible for operation and process adjustment of certain piece of equipment. Made it works with better than specified results, but my managers required more production, less power, etc. So, at the point machine reached its S capacity, and further pushing was risky and huge amount of invest was needed. I was told by brass that you didn't even try to do it, only say some lame excuses. I was full of this shit and called to the manufacturer of this equipment. Long story short, instead of instructions and advices, they sent me a job offer for local service rep. After I quit the mill, my ex-colleagues tried to push machine above the limits and successfully broke it and stopped the production for a couple of weeks. Oh boy, let me tell you of my last day of Walmart. It's Monday morning, my day off, and I was pulling out of MD Anderson after getting blood work done when I receive a call from my manager. Let's call her Dajkano. Dajkano asks me to come into work because of tacalifs. Thinking that I did not have anything else planned and could use the overtime, I agreed. I informed her over the phone it would take me an hour to get home, dress, and drive to work. All I heard was a annoyed fine. Just get here. 1 hour later I arrived at work. Just as I was getting to the deli where I work, my manager, who was behind the counter by herself, starts yelling at me for being late in front of not one, not two, but a line of customers. I attempt to remind her of our conversation, but she cuts me off, tosses me her apron, and storms out of the deli. I'm forced to shrug it off, apologize to the customers, and get to work. Later, I have a customer walk to the deli and ask about our rotisserie chicken, something not uncommon. I explain it will be over an hour before they are ready and suggest driving 5 minutes north to the other Walmart. He nods, thanks me, and walks away towards the front. I thought nothing of it and continued to cook popcorn chicken. 5 minutes later, the same customer comes back with none other than Dajkano, who is asking me about the rotisserie chicken. I, once again, attempt to explain how long the chicken has left to cook, and the suggestion I made. No sooner than, when I finished speaking, she berates me for being lazy and telling a customer to go elsewhere. I ask what else is there I could do, as I couldn't make the oven cook faster. Her next words stick to this day: I want you to do your damn job, or you can kiss it goodbye. A moment of pause from everyone. Zoan may have been listening in the entire time, as well as the customers they were helping. I ponder, then smile. Okay. I apologize to Zoan May, wish them the best of luck, and walk out of the deli towards my manager. I stop in front of her, take off my apron, kiss it, say goodbye, and walk out of the store. I still have my name badge, and hat to this day. I worked 25 years for a large company in the sales division. I was making 6 figures and had earned my role as VP of the West Coast. My plan was to stick around to retirement, but then we got a new president, and the new president was an asshole to everyone. I saw one sales guy walk up all excited and offer a handshake to meet him. The president didn't shake the extended hand and instead said, "I can't believe you came here without polishing your shoes." The president gave a directive for me to stop hiring people with business or sales experience and to start just hiring attractive men and women, because their good looks will sell product better than the educated words of a veteran salesperson. Plus they are young and work cheaper. I went along with this request and made 2 such hires. Then the next request came along: tell me who is the worst member of your team right now. I explained my team was one in the company and we're all doing well, but the weakest one 8-year employee who had a bad year last year. He was making less frequent calls and the quality of calls was dropping. I had to place him on a PIP to improve in 3 months. And he did. He busted ass, worked long hours and weekends, and moved into the one spot on my team. At the end of the 3 months, president calls me to discuss the P1st P1, explain the great progress, and that I want to release him from the PIP because he is on track now. The reply was, well, there's probably other things wrong with him anyway, so terminate him and document it. Make sure to hire a young attractive person as a replacement. I quit on the spot with 0 days notice, unusual for a white collar job, and told him to do his own dirty work. Now I work as a high school teacher, lol. When I was a programmer at an insurance company, one of the long-time programmers had been with the company for nearly 20 years. This guy originally wrote most of the financial system himself, from scratch, and had maintained it with the help of a couple of other people. Every month he did the month-end processing, and every quarter he did the quarter-end processing. Every year-end? Yep, it was him. There was a change in management a couple of times, and he kept getting treated worse and worse. He was being treated unfairly, asked to do unreasonably more work than he was already doing, getting thrown under the bus, that kind of thing. He finally had enough, and one morning he came in, walked to the manager's office and quit, then walked out the door. In the aftermath it took a team of 4 other people, months and months to get things back together and to a point where things were serviceable. Worked for a landscape company doing new installs. Our owner was cheap with a bad habit of constantly biting off more than he could chew. One year he asked if we wanted any part of a school project in a city we didn't live in, over 2 hours away, and we said no. He said that was fine and would just bid on one school for his crew who lived in that area. Instead he bid on multiple schools and got 3 of them. Obviously, none of us are happy about this, and he claimed that he'd put us up in hotels so we wouldn't have to commute. He never did. The work itself sucked way more than a crew our size could handle, and the owner's brother did absolutely nothing. He was supposed to be the project manager / supervisor, and literally all he did was play Clash of Clans on his phone and yell about people not being fast enough. After a few days, I was done. I'd grown sick of the job anyway, but this project really sealed it. Having to commute 4+ hours a day and then physically destroy myself was taking a toll fast. I woke up Friday morning, called the owner, told him I quit and to stop taking more work than he can manage. He blew up, but I just hung up the phone and went back to sleep. 2 weeks later I get a call from him. He's begging me to come back because after I quit, 2 other guys did too. The project is now woefully behind schedule and he's going to get fined if things don't pick up and get finished. I told him he should have thought of that before he bit off more than he could chew and expected a small crew to do it all in a short time frame. He got quiet and then asked if a 50-cent raise would get me back. Ha ha ha, no. Last time I ever heard from him, and I can't find his company website anymore. I've only done this once in my life, but it was a really crazy situation. My first professional job was an event planner for a small business, like 3 people. I was 24, and I worked there for a year. After about 5 months, my boss became extremely abusive. She would make little snide remarks about my terrible skills or time management or organizing. She stopped talking to me and would basically act like I wasn't there unless it was to criticize me for something. One day she asked me if I implemented a new filing system she had learned from the bank she used to work at. I replied no, as she hadn't yet showed me how to do so. She said, with a stack of papers in her hand, "Well, I guess giving you these would be fucking useless then." Another example is that she would find little ways in which I was being pert or snide in some way, usually something completely BS, and would make me sign forms saying we had meetings about my behavior and listed all the things we would do to change it and help me grow. Like I worked for a big corporation or something with an HR department and not a private office with literally one boss. If I argued why I wasn't doing so, she made me sign something saying I was refusing training. I literally have no idea who those papers were for. Stuff like that. It made me so paranoid and unhappy. I spent many lunches crying in my car and many nights stressed out completely after work. I couldn't understand what had changed and felt so stupid and helpless. My coworker had just left, so it was just the 2 of us, and I gave my 2 weeks because the thought of being alone in an office with her was unbearable. As soon as I left her office, she called her mom to complain about me ditching her and talked about how happy she would be with me gone while I was about 10 feet away in another room with the doors open. I lost it, got up from my desk and grabbed my purse, went to her office and told her that I was leaving for good. Right this minute. I was shaking and terrified, and she was furious. She told me, "Good luck finding another job in this town. I know everybody." Spoiler alert, I did. The kicker. What I didn't know at the time was that my coworker had been feeding her BS the whole time. When it started to affect how I was being treated, and I would complain or talk about it, guess who also told my boss all of that? Yup. With many embellishments, of course. I had zero experience with people like that and overlooked many clues, like how she would stay after work a lot to finish her assignments, while in reality she was staying to tattle on me because I was so new to the real world and naive. I found out all of this a few months later from one of her friends I ran into who she had also screwed over in some way. It made me stronger, and after I left my boss had to deal with scrambling to find people to do all her events, and I'm sure it was hell. I felt happy about that at first, But now that I'm 10 years older I can see things differently. She definitely could have handled it better, but it was her first boss job too, and she maybe had some things to learn herself. Like and subscribe for more Reddit videos.